I just want to go through a few mistakes that beginners make in voiceovers, and in fact, some of us make on a consistent basis. So even professionals occasionally make these mistakes, but they're particularly prevalent amongst newbies. So let's start off with the mistakes that voice actors make, voiceover artists make, especially when they're doing auditions or they're actually doing the work. And sometimes these mistakes are the reason why you don't get the work as well. So firstly, poor microphone technique. People don't get to know their equipment. I think this is really important to try and become familiar with your equipment, make sure it's plugged in correctly, make sure you're the right distance from the mic. I haven't got a pop shield here today because it's just a video, but if I was doing this for real, I'd have a pop shield there. I'd make sure the mic was there and not here. So what some people do is they have their mic facing the wrong way because these are side addressed. Let me kind of give you a demonstration. So they're talking like this. Can you hear it? It sounds like I'm in the distance because the pickup part of the microphone is here. So make sure that you're pointing your mic in the right direction and you get to know your microphone. Another thing that people do is that they overuse inflections or they're overmodulated. And this is where the voice becomes quite sing-song. So they take a script and instead of being quite realistic about it, they misinterpret what the client's saying. So when the client says, it needs to be engaging, energetic or whatever, they start talking like this. And it's very much like this. That's right. So they become voiceover woman or voiceover man, or they just overmodulate and overdo the script. And there's nothing more annoying to a potential client or a producer or director to listen to someone who is going up and down, up and down, up and down like that. It becomes predictable and it just becomes annoying. So keep it real. Another issue that people, especially beginners, face is they rush through the script. So they might be doing half a dozen different auditions at a session, and they think, oh, here's another script. I'll just take it and just read it and that must be all right. I'll do it again, just as a backup. And they go through and they rush the script rather than making sure that the words are clear, making sure that everything is in the right order, or the words are in the right order. So just take your time. Now, obviously, some scripts need to be delivered at a fast pace. And where they do, you're going to need a bit of speed. But in the main, just make sure your pace is not rushed, it's not gabbled, and we can hear those words clearly. Another thing that I think it is very prevalent amongst beginners, another mistake, is that they ignore the script direction. So most voiceovers, the vast majority of voiceovers that you do, certainly when you come to the audition stage and even beyond, the client will have put a brief or some direction there. So they will say, this is how I want it done. And this is the kind of voice I'm looking for. Now, some people just ignore that and they just do their own interpretation of the script, which is wrong because you need to not only stick to the script, but you need to stick to the brief as well. Make sure that you're at one with the direction and you understand what that direction is. And make sure that you are also kind of sticking to what the client might be looking for. It's not always clear what a client is looking for, but sometimes you can read between the lines and just think, they're looking for that kind of person. So if you're a British middle-aged male voice like myself, don't go for jobs that say we're looking for someone with a Scottish accent. Quite clearly, I haven't got a Scottish accent. I could try and put one on, but I'd be absolutely rubbish. So try and stick to what you sound like and make sure you stick to that brief. One of the other problems is that people don't prepare. There's poor script preparation. So they don't take the time to understand what the script is all about. Now, it might be it's from an area you don't know anything about. It may be from a medical area or technical area, and you think, gosh, what is all this about? And you may not understand the nuances and the minutiae of it, but you will get a general gist of it. I mean, if it is so out of your field, maybe leave it alone, because you're going to sound like you don't know what you're on about. The key to a voiceover, a good voiceover, is something that communicates the message well, tells the story, and that it sounds like the voiceover artist knows what they're on about, because you've got to sound believable and sincere and convincing in order to sell the product or convey the message. So make sure you do your prep, you look at the words on the page, and you understand them. And also check out any pronunciations and things like that. Sometimes people get the company name wrong. I've had people who've been my students, and they've got the pronunciation of the company wrong. And that's pretty fundamental. Imagine you are Nike and you've got an audition and someone's calling it Nicky or whatever. You don't want to do that, because you're going to sound like a complete idiot. So do your research, do a bit of research. I know there's a time limit and you want to get those auditions done, but it's better to do an audition well. If you're not going to do it well, don't do it at all. One of the things I've noticed about some people is they complain about the lack of air coming through and their breathing. Now, breathing to some extent in voiceovers is a kind of an academic thing, because if you've got breaths between the words or phrases, you can just edit those out. It doesn't matter. But if the breaths are within a word, or you're running out of breath and it sounds like you're running out of breath, that's probably down to poor posture. So if you're hunched like this, like I am today actually, that's not good. So try standing up. Sometimes you may find that you give a better performance if you stand up, or you may find you give a better performance with your shoulders back and you feel confident. That can just make you feel more assured, just going like this. So decide what is a good posture for you. Now, you may decide that you want to sit down for things like audiobooks or e-learning where it's long form reading, or you may decide that when you are doing something short and punchy, like a commercial, you need to stand up. You need to free up your diaphragm and allow that word to come up through your larynx, your voice box. And it gives you plenty of volume there, plenty of volume of air to get it all out. You don't want to be running out of breath while you're doing your script. So just practice that at home as well. Practice reading long phrases, long sentences, and also mark the script so you can mark where you should be breathing. So you may decide, a bit like a singer does really, you may decide that after a certain phrase, you're going to take a short pause, a gulp of air or whatever. If the breath is too prominent there, you can always edit that out. But make the script flow, but at the same time, give yourself enough time to breathe between those sentences and those phrases. And finally, it's sort of connected to some of the others. I think it's that lack of energy, especially when you're starting out. What I found with my students, interestingly, is when they begin, as soon as they start behind the mic, they're a bit flat, a bit monotonous. And my job as a coach is to bring out that enthusiasm, bring out that energy from the bottom of their boots and hopefully out of their mouths. What I then find is when that student goes home and starts sending me samples of what they're recording, they've gone flat again. And that's because they're too relaxed at home. They are sitting back, having a cup of tea, thinking, I'll just do this sample or do this audition. And they're almost too relaxed. So relaxed, in fact, that they sound monotonous and they sound bored with the script. So enthusiasm and energy, and the right amount, I think that's crucial, the right amount of enthusiasm and energy are so important in a voiceover. Make it engaging. Make sure you're engaged with the script, with the words on the page, and you bring them to life. So practice, again, it's all about practice. So avoid those mistakes and you'll give a much better performance. You'll stand a much greater chance of securing those auditions and getting those voiceover jobs. All right, thanks very much for watching today. Look after your voice and see you next time.